we'll switch over to the boring old acoustic guitar. Blake, can you put this in the monitor? I know it doesn't sound great, but that's okay. There's nothing in the monitor, is there? There's something in the monitor. A lot in the monitor. You can take a little out of the monitor now, Blake. Is Darren up there? We're very unofficial today. My apologies. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Good to have you here. We'll sing a rock and roll version of Hine Matov to get it going, okay? How's that? Blake, can you take some electric out of the monitor for me? I mean, I like it, but... Ready, Lance? It's the Shabbat. It's actually the big Shabbat. Shabbat Hagadol, it's called. We'll talk about that later, okay?
Behold
work one day and have a really good guitar sound, right, Lance? Okay, thanks. That's fun. Now, what holiday is coming up? Kelly, come on. Passover starts when? Easter is also coming up. That's right. Very good. You are a really good Messianic synagogue. Blake, you have my acoustic? There it is. So, listen, I have to do this. I mean, I know even saying this is bad. But you're not going to know any of the songs that I'm getting ready to play, but I have to play them for you because I won't see you before you have your Passover Seders on Friday night. And these are the songs, some of the traditional songs that you sing at the Passover Seder. They're all in Hebrew. Take a note of the title of them. You can go back and look at them on YouTube at some point, and you can learn them. And they're all happening in the Haggadah. And so normally around the table, you sing them if anyone knows them. So I couldn't have you leave here without saying at least I heard the Haggadah songs. But next week, we'll have the fun Seder songs, okay? Because it'll be Passover by then. You can sing. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you get the Hebrew right for this. It's just we're having fun. You can do that Friday night, right? Baruch HaMakom Baruch Baruch Shenatan Natan Torah Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. Sing it with me, it's easy. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu Baruch Shenatan Natan Torah Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. One more time. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu Baruch Shenatan Natan Torah Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. That was the learning pace, and here's how the song goes. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu Baruch Shenatan Natan Torah Shenatan Natan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. Baruch shenatan natan Torah. Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. Baruch hamakom baruch hu. There we go. Now you got it. And one more for you. It's called Avadim Hayinu. It's not real pleasant. It says, we were slaves, but now we are free. How's it go? Let's do it slow. It's actually pretty slow. Avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. One more. Avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu hayinu. And now, it's in English. It's a church song, so you can sing it with me. Can you? Even if you don't know it, by the end of it and by the chorus, you'll know it. Take us in to the holy place where the night turns into day. Take us in to the holy place where our eyes can see your face. Take us in where we can touch your garment, faith embraced by mercy. Take us in. Take us in to the holy place where your presence is our treasure. Take us in to the holy place where our worship gives you pleasure. Take us in where we can know you like you wanted us to know you. Take us in where we can worship you in spirit and in truth. And we will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, us in to the holy place where your presence is our treasure. Take us in to the holy place where our worship gives you pleasure. Take us in where we can know you like you wanted us to know you. Take us in where we can worship you in spirit and in truth. And we will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. Oh Lord. How we love you, how we love you, how we love you, how we love you. I said, how we love you, how we love you, how we love you, yeah, how we love you. And we will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. And we will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. We will worship you, we will worship you, we will worship you, oh Lord. Holiness, holiness is what I long for. Holiness is what I need. Holiness, holiness is what you want from me. Faithfulness, faithfulness is what I long for. Faithfulness is what I need. Faithfulness, faithfulness is what you want from me. So take my righteousness is what I long for. Righteousness is what I need. what you want from me. So take my heart and form it. Take my mind and transform it. Take my will, conform it to yours, oh Lord. Take my heart and form it. Take my mind and transform it. Take my will, conform it to yours, oh Lord. And to yours, oh Lord. To yours, oh Lord. Holiness, holiness is what I long for. Holiness is what I need. Holiness, holiness is what you want from me. What made me so special in your eyes? That you come to the earth to die. What could I ever say to you? There's nothing I could say or do. As humbly you came, proudly you made your way to the cross that bore my name. I was left for dead with no hope in sight. I headed down the wrong way, but you put me on the right. You paid the price, and the price it was blood. Now I'm alive, but my sins have been left for dead. What made me so special in your eyes? That you rescued me from his lies. How could I make it up to you? There's nothing I could say or do. As humbly you came, and proudly you made your way to the cross that bore my name.
Humbly you came, and proudly you made your way to the cross that bore my name. His name and her name and our names. I was left for dead with no hope inside. I headed down the wrong way, but you put me on the right. You paid the price, and the price it was blood. I'm alive, but my sins have been lifted. 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 My sins have been lifted. My sins have been lifted. Oh, my sins have been left for dead. My sins have been left for dead.
Let's stand together, guys.
Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam, 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 Le'olam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la la la.
You may be seated. Help me sing this one. I got amphibians in my throat this morning.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom. Blessed is his name for all eternity. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. Yeshua is my Messiah. He's Lord of all. Yeshua is my Messiah. He's Lord of all. He's Lord of all. He's Lord of all. Yeah.
Let's stand and offer up our praises and prayers to God. to the faithful God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'Neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham. To the God faithful to restore the dead. Baruch atah Adonai Hameti. To the Holy One seated above the heavens. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. To the God who gives us this day of rest and refreshing. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. To the God restoring his presence to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir Shechinato LeTzion. To the God worthy of all thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai Hatov Shimcha Ulchanei Lehodo. To the God who brings peace. Baruch atah Adonai Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael B'Shalom. The words of our Master to us. Avinu Shabashamayim, Yitkadesh Mecha, Tavo Machutecha, Ye'aseh Ritzonecha, Kasher Bashamayim Gam Ba'aretz, Et Lachmenu Lemachar, Teilanu Hayom, Umecha Ka'asher mechanu Gam anachnu lechayaveinu Yal tivienu lidei nisayon Ki im tatzilenu min hara Ki lecha hamamlecha Ve'hagevura Ve'hatiferet Leone olamim amen. For the sake of our Master Yeshua and his merit and his virtue, may the sayings of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be favorable to you. Oh Lord, my rock and my redeemer. 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 Yeshua, who HaMashiach, who Adon HaKol. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, the King of the universe, who has given us the way of salvation. In Messiah, Yeshua, Amen. You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom to all. Welcome. Good to see everyone's smiling face in the room. Online, I want to thank so many of our online family members who amazingly, faithfully support the synagogue. It still is marvelously incredible to me. But we're looking forward to seeing so many of you at Shavuot. Welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time today. Give to the synagogue at that link, or, well, that'll tell you everything you need to know. Go to that link. So Shabbat Shalom to all.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Oda Binu Chai, Oda Binu Chai, Oda Binu, Oda Binu, Oda Binu Chai, Oda Binu Chai, Oda Binu Chai, Oda Binu, Oda Binu, Oda Binu Chai. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, good morning. It is so great to see y'all. I missed y'all last week. And I missed the football game. Who's still sore? Barnabas, you still sore, buddy? Lance, Rabbi? They made you chase Barnabas. Oh, okay. Well, the football, flag football was a huge success. Thank you, Boaz, for setting that up for us. And look forward to it again next year. Thank y'all so much for being here, and those of you online. This morning during Shacharit prayers, we had visitors online from Zimbabwe, Australia, Canada, and England. Well, that is just amazing. It's just the outreach from this little old bitty synagogue here in massive Macon, Georgia. Oh, gracious. And today we have Bob Williams from Lincoln, Nebraska, Tom Silzer, Sisler from Poland, Ohio. Keith and Deanna Prince from Bakersfield, California. Price. And I got it wrote Price. I don't have an N in it. Y'all are Prince and princesses, though. So, Barbara Johnson from Tulsa. Heather Mokeen, I probably messed that up real bad, from Old City, Pennsylvania. And the Singleton family from Prescott, Arizona. That's how I was told to say it by them. So, got a few more announcements here. Tour on Taps tonight here, 7 p.m. You come and join us. And those of you online, we will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, not Standard Time. And then don't forget tomorrow morning, the Talmud and Tea at 9 a.m. on the Shalom Macon at home. And just a reminder, what starts on the 6th day of the week? Passover. It starts Friday night. So if you are in need of a Hagadol, Darren has some books, his Cup of Redemption books in the box here on the back table. Grab as many as you need, but don't take more than what you need, so somebody else can get what they need. And then we have the Meal of Messiah coming up on April 22nd at 7 p.m. here. RSVP by April 18th. Darren will send out another email so that you can get that linked. And then the Perkei Avot class will start on April 23rd at 3 p.m. I'm assuming that's going to be on our Shalom at Home, and that will last for approximately 6 weeks. Okay, so we're going to have a live class here, so y'all come and join, and then we'll have it online as well. And Shalom Kids Hebrew is at 1:30. Again, we'll have today. We'll have a live class here, and we'll be online with that as well. And then on the what's special about April 30th? What is special about April 30th? Gabriel, do you know anything about that? Yeah, bar mitzvah. All right. Gabriel Eisner was bar mitzvah will be on April 30th. Make note of a special start time of 10:30 a.m. on the 30th. So y'all mark that on your calendars. Don't be late. You don't want to miss this fabulous event in Gabriel's life. So thank y'all so much for being. Oh, one more thing. Construction starts next week on the pavilion area. Hallelujah. That is fantastic. So, during the construction process, please do not be in the green space area at all. We don't want anyone to be getting hurt during that process. We want you to wait and get hurt after the process. So, anyway, we don't want anybody getting hurt, so please stay clear of the construction site while things are going on, while we get our pavilion built. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you so much for being here.
I want a couple of just follow-ups. One on the construction deal. They're shipping the pavilion from the actual manufacturer in North Carolina at the end of April. But the guys who are building the pavilion for us, we met them because they were repairing some windows for another company, and they said, well, you know, we do everything. And since that time, they've fixed everything in the synagogue and built all kinds of things and made things great. Well, because they were concerned about being able to get this done for us by June, since it's just shipping in April, they drove to Pennsylvania this week to pick up the main beams to be able to get them in the ground and do the foundation. So they drove up there and got them for us, which I thought was just a miraculously selfless thing to do. So, also, yesterday, Darren told me, we're doing all of this stuff online with Shalom at Home and all these classes, and the Hebrew class, Mighty Kid, what is it? Shalom Kids. They're olively mighty Shalom Kids. And trying to get it out to everyone is very difficult on Zoom. And Darren told me yesterday and showed me something called an owl that we received in the mail. It's called an owl, right? Meeting owl. A meeting owl is an unbelievable piece of technology that has a relatively high price tag, somewhere around $1,000, that someone online just anonymously and generously donated so that the meetings can have the best possible quality. It does multiple images of people, automatically switches to who's talking. It's just unbelievable. And so I don't know who you are, whoever did that, but thank you. And all of us will benefit from your generosity. So again, just an unbelievable testimony to the community that God has built here, even from literally thousands of miles away. My friend Craig Heppelwhite is in Australia streaming with us in bed with the flu, but he's a leader of a Messianic congregation there. And Australia, I mean, it takes how long to fly there? 17 hours. So all we can say to this is Baruch Hashem. Bless God for his unbelievable favor to us. Kids, let's go to Shabbat school. Yisimcha Elohim ki Ephraim v'chi Menashe. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. Yisamech Elohim ki Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Father, bless our children. Bless their parents. And again, as we talked about last week, help us just to teach them in the way that they should go. Give us that Holy Spirit inspiration and energy and patience, which I know no parent ever really needs an extra dose of patience, but just give it anyway. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. What's so funny is I think I used to bless this kid right here. Now he's holding a kid. So I think that means I'm old. Yep. Or you're old. Go to Shabbat school, guys. You're all set. In Yeshua's name. This is a very, very big Shabbat. Who knows why this Shabbat is so big? Because it's called the Big Shabbat. It's called Shabbat Hagadol. This is the Shabbat that precedes what? Passover. Pesach, right? Which starts next Friday night, as Dave said. So this is the big, great Shabbat. Now, for you, the listener, though, that this might be anything but great, because it's the rabbi's responsibility on Shabbat Hagadol to give you an exhaustive, longest of the year, incredibly detailed message about all of your Passover preparations, everything you need to do, all the rules, cover all the laws, and give you the information that you need. There's a lot you need to know, like what actually is Pesach? What is it? I'll tell you. You want me to? Because no one's volunteering. The Pesach is not Passover. That's what it has come to be known. Pesach equals Passover. What is Pesach? What is the Pesach? It's the sacrifice. It's the lamb or the goat. It could be either. It's not necessarily a lamb. But do we eat lamb today? Well, so here's an interesting thing to note. Going off of last week's message about you are what you eat. Did you know that the majority of Christians, what their Easter meal consists of outside of the United States? Lamb. Did you know that lamb is not prohibited to eat in Judaism on Passover? It is, unless it's roasted, you don't ever roast a lamb. But Sephardic Jews eat lamb, like in memory of the Paschal lamb of the Pesach. Ashkenaz Jews, which are Eastern European, which is the way I grew up, is we don't eat lamb. Instead, on the Seder plate is what? A shank bone, right? And the shank bone represents the Pesach. It represents the lamb. Because part of the reason we don't eat lamb in my house and almost all American Jewish homes, probably, is because we're reminded that we're still in exile by this. When you look on the Seder plate and you see this old nasty bone sitting there, it's a lot different than being in Jerusalem at the temple eating a delicious temple roasted lamb chop. So we're reminded by this even that we're in exile, that we're not home yet. And maybe when Messiah comes and we have this Passover celebration there, then we'll all eat lamb together. But we don't normally eat lamb. Although, let me just give you this, because you may need to know this for Jeopardy. Do you know why most American Christian homes eat pork or pig on Easter? Because in the Germanic countries and the European countries, pigs were much more prevalent than lambs. Even today, we don't eat a lot of lamb here or in Europe, at least Western Europe. So when it came time to have a special meal, the thing that was much more prevalent was a pig. So for Easter, it was a big celebration meal. You killed a pig and you ate it. It transferred over. That's why that's done. Last week, here, Cracker Barrel's Easter Ham Spectacular for more on that. It doesn't mean it has to keep on being that, but that's how primarily we got to ham. Now that's your Jeopardy bit for today. When is the meal eaten for Passover? Correct, which is the 15th of Nisan. The lambs were slaughtered on the 14th, but your Passover Seder does not start until after sundown. Why? Because it says, there's all kinds of things about telling your child at night and different things. So we don't start the Passover, we don't eat until the 15th of Nisan. What is Nisan? No, it's not a Japanese auto. Well, it is actually a Japanese auto manufacturer. It's also the month. And this is the 15th of Nisan when we begin to celebrate what is called, what Sam referred to as in Hebrew, Chag HaMatzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The 15th is when that actually starts. So Passover has kind of become this big inclusive term, but it's really called the Days of Unleavened Bread, okay? Anyway, am I keeping you awake, Steve? I just heard that Brooklyn yawn from the back of the room. I thought I'd reference it. So anyway, what I decided is that I would not keep you here for hours. And I wouldn't give you the Shabbat Hagadol message that was all-inclusive. Instead, I'll make it very easy on you. 5 things you need, okay? First of all, well, I guess we could say 9 things since one of them is 4, but 5 things you need. Wine, 4 cups of wine. 4 cups of wine. If you have issues, you can use grape juice. If there are addiction issues, allergies, whatever, you can use grape juice. But I promise you, from experience and several decades of Passover Seders, those first 2 cups of regular wine help get you to the meal a lot quicker. So 4 cups of wine, there's a lot to say there. We won't right now. Matzah, it's a commandment. That's what the Torah says. Got to have matzah. Got to. It symbolizes so much. You need to have maror. What is maror? Bitter herbs. You got to eat it. It's a commandment. It's in the Torah. You're supposed to. They symbolize so much. Number 4, you got to tell the story. It's called the magid. It's called the telling. And how do we tell the story? With the book that tells us how to tell the story, right? It's called the Haggadah, the telling. So you got to tell the story, right? That's 4 things. And there you have it. Not too long, right? You can go to lunch. Hag Pesach Sameach. We'll see you next Saturday. Oh, I did say 5. Well, because there's something really, really important as it relates to telling the story. As it relates to telling the story. This is a Gadol story, Shabbat Hagadol. This is a Gadol story. We've got Yeshua, we've got the Exodus, we've got all of these different things going on. And the Haggadah, it tells us, but there's something particular that the Mishnah says. I was reading the Mishnah this week. I do that sometimes just for fun. Legal arguments and rulings in Judaism. I shared some with Darren this week about just unbelievable intricacies that are found within the Mishnah. Like men be careful if you want to make sure that when you're going number one, that it doesn't splatter on your clothes. Do that downhill. Everything you can imagine is found and discussed in the Mishnah and the Talmud. But what is the Mishnah? The Mishnah is very, very, very old. The Mishnah was codified by Judah Hanasi in 200, roughly, CE 200, after Yeshua. But it takes teachings that go back, way back, probably to the time of Ezra and the men of the Great Assembly. The oral traditions, the laws, all the things that passed down, and Judah Hanasi ultimately codified them into the Mishnah. The Mishnah was argued about and discussed, and it became, ultimately, with the addition of other arguments, the Talmud later on. But here's what the Mishnah says about how you tell the story, which I read. It's talking to the father, and it's telling him, when you tell your children, when your son asks you these questions, because that's the biggest part about the Seder. It's really for the kids. It's to make sure that they're intrigued, that they're connected to and understanding. And here's what it says to the father. When the father is telling the story, he begins with the disgrace and ends with the glory. He begins with shame and ends with praise. Now listen, that is a total bummer. As if waiting 4 hours to eat on its own wasn't enough bummer. We start with the things that are terrible. Start with shame. Why? Why do we have to do that? I mean, that's a negative start. Well, here's the thing. There is a fifth thing. Cups of wine, matzah, maror, the telling of the story, and number 5, and maybe the most important, hope. You have to have hope in your Passover story. It's not the same without it. And that's what the telling does. That's what the telling does. This is the holiday of hope. Well, starting with shame and disgrace is not really very hopeful. I mean, shame and disgrace is the opposite. It's hopelessness. It drives people down into dark places. Why would we want to start right there? Well, because our ancestors were slaves in Egypt, it says. That is the real story. This is life. Real life, and everyone, including your kids, especially today, needs to understand some important things about hope and living with hope. Now listen, the story of the Jewish people is about the most hopeless story you could imagine on its face. I understand that Christian persecution has been around since the beginning. Nero and the boys, they didn't like Christians. It started right away, feeding them to animals. It hasn't stopped. It's terrible. All around the world, Christians martyred for what they believe. And that is in no way minimized in any way by what I'm getting ready to say, but there is a very big difference between being persecuted for what you believe and for what you are. What you are. Jews throughout history have been hated for their bloodline, for their country, for their success, for their appearance. Slavery, genocide, inquisitions, ghettos. Here's a short list of haters, biblical and otherwise, starting way back. Pharaoh, Amalek, Haman, Antiochus, Titus, Constantine, Martin Luther, Hitler, the KKK, the neo-Nazis. The only thing the neo-Nazis have that makes them Nazis is that they hate Jews. They're not interested in socialism. They just want to see dead Jews. The BDS movement, the boycott, divest, sanction movement. The pro-Palestinian organizations that paint you pictures of things that are absolutely not true. Hating Jews. And sadly, the church and the disciples of Yeshua throughout history, sadly increasing today. By all rational considerations, the Jewish people should not be here. But we are. We are, and we're still contributing. And part of that, do you know why that is? Part of it is because of the story we tell at the Passover Seder that begins with shame. It begins with disgrace. We're used to it. It's a part of our story. We were slaves in Egypt, miserable, far from God, descended into darkness, into idolatry, no hope, no agent of hope, murdered babies, slavery, misery. What did we do to get there? Not much. Pharaoh just decided he didn't like us anymore. Things were going well, actually, for a while, and now this. I mean, we were the promised, the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and God made these particular promises, and then all of a sudden, hopeless, miserable, disgraced, shamed. We're far from God, hopeless, and we honestly did not do our part. That's a part of it, is that we descended into a place of hopelessness and idolatry. And to start with shame and to start with disgrace, it did one very, very important thing for the Jewish people. It told us, you have no hope in yourself. There is no hope apart from an agent who will save you. And that has been the Jewish way. To start with shame and disgrace is to find hope, because hope is a funny thing. Did you know from a psychological perspective, hope is really one of the most important things you can ever hold on to? If you have no hope in life, you have no life. But hope is not just a good, funny feeling that you have. Hope is not hope unless it is a realistic hope. That means that there is an agent who can accomplish the thing you hope for. Hope with no agency is not hope. I could hope all day that I could go back in time and buy Amazon stock or, Home Depot stock. I could hope all day that I'm going to wake up tomorrow 6'9", playing in the NBA and having a multi-million-dollar contract. There's no agent for that. That's not going to happen. That's not reality. I'm not going to waste my time hoping for that. But that is the miracle of the story, isn't it? That God showed up, that he moved closer, that he heard the cries of Israel, it says. He says they're crying out. They cried out in their cry for help because of their bondage ascended to God. They were hopeless in shame and disgrace, and instead they cried out and said, God, please save us. Give us hope. Get us out of here, please. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and God saw the sons of Israel, and he took notice of them. That means he acted, he showed up, he delivered, he redeemed, he took us out, and he does that. And he has done it for the Jewish people many, many, many times. As recently as wars in Israel, where there was no possible way that the Israeli army in its fledgling little baby state could have been able to overcome these Arab enemies. And God did. God showed up and restored hope. That's why the Israeli national anthem is called Hatikva, the hope. Jews have always hoped and believed that God would show up, and sometimes, often, in very, very, very dark places. And it couldn't just be a good feeling. There had to be a belief that when things get going, when the going gets tough, that God gets going. And he has, in his perfect time, this agent, this doer who could complete the action that would take us from hopelessness to freedom, from shame and despair, where the story starts, to praise and glory. Now, does that sound familiar, that story? From shame to glory. First of all, it's in every single biblical hero story you can imagine. It's the story. Jacob told to lie to his father, exiled, brother wants to kill me, cheated by my father-in-law, you know? And this is Jacob. He's a patriarch. He was supposed to have all these great things happening, but instead, living most of his life imagining that his own sons had killed his favorite son. The disgrace and the shame that guy had. And his son, Joseph. Joseph, this favored brother who gets sold into slavery by his own brothers, goes, finally makes his way up. He's the right-hand man of Potiphar. Then the seduction story. He does the right thing. It causes him to be disgraced and thrown shamelessly into a dungeon where God only knows if I'll ever get out. But what did he have? He had some hope. Moses, cast out of Israel, shepherd, wanderer, living in Midian with no life. God showed up. How? In a burning bush. There are all of these stories. David running from Saul, hiding in a cave. Where did he end up? Read his Psalms. They're pretty hopeless at times, and David has a lot of shame and disgrace in his life too. But God showed up. Peter. Yeshua, don't even worry about it. They come after you, no one's getting through me. Peter, just, I'm serious. I'm your rock, Jesus. Are you with him? I don't even know the man. Now, Peter is the rock, and I'm not being disgraceful. Disrespectful. I'm doing that for the effect. Talk about a shame story. Talk about disgrace. Talk about a failure. But in every one of those situations, starting down there, hopeless, low, disgraced, God moves and shows up. Why do we tell the story of shame to glory, despair and disgrace to praise? Because that's real life. That is real life, and that is the place where you develop the very strong muscle called faith in your life sometimes. Sometimes you put yourself down there. Sometimes you just end up down there. There's no answer for that. But we have to tell the story to be reminded that we're not hopeless. And all this time I've been talking about the Jewish story, the Jewish people. But in this community of Jews and Gentiles, how much more clearly could it be illustrated? Start with shame, end with praise, particularly appropriate to this season, than in who? Yeshua, the Messiah, who lived a perfect life. And how did that life end? In utter absolute disgrace. Beaten to a pulp, almost all naked, hanging on a Roman cross, crucified. Having made the statements that he made and having had all the people that followed him, and that's how it ends? They were utterly hopeless at that point. They were hiding behind closed doors. We are sunk, man. Everything we said it's a lie, Stephen. But that was not the end. It started with disgrace. And how did it end? With unbelievably majestic glory on the third day as he walked out of there. And the angels and everybody's in awe and absolutely unbelievable. Why? Because God showed up, and he resurrected the Messiah of Israel, the Messiah of the world. That story, isn't it interesting how well that story, that statement from the Mishnah, start with disgrace, end with glory, fits right into what? The Easter story, right? Friday, Good Friday, sinners, bad. Sunday, tomb, empty tomb, resurrection, glory, but it's not the Easter story. That's the point. It's the Passover story. It's the Mishnah story. It's you got to know where you came from and what God did for you to get you where you are now. Start by remembering that place and revel in the fact that God brought you to this place. That's the story we're telling. We're telling it about the Jewish people, and we're telling it about Israel, but we're telling it about ourselves. God's telling it to us, and our kids must know that story, and it's incumbent upon us to do it. And the thing is, you learn two incredibly important things, starting with disgrace. Because disgrace and shame is a terrible place, but when you come out of it, you know one of the things it teaches you, one of two of the most important components of life as a disciple, as a human being. Shame and disgrace teaches you something. Humility. It teaches you to never forget where you came from. Shame and disgrace, I remember it. I remember it. And I know what it feels like. And God, I will never exalt myself. 2, life's second greatest, the secret to happiness. It's no secret. Gratitude. Disgrace and shame. Humility. Exalted by nothing that we did, only because God showed up. He exalted us to a place that we're called saints in glory. How could you not find gratitude every moment, every breath, every day? That's the story. It starts with disgrace. Because if we're honest, left to our own devices, that's where you end up. But you have hope with agency. It is Hashem. It is His Son. It is our Messiah, who through His shame and disgrace and exaltation to glory brought us right along with, leaned down, picked you up and said, up we go, Andy. Man, that's a story. And this is the most famous story. This is every great movie's tagline, right? The hero story. You have somebody who has a major problem. They need someone to show up and fix it for them because they don't have the answers. And then out of somewhere, this hero shows up. It's called the story brand. It's a marketing technique. It's in Star Wars. It's in The Hobbit. It's in all kinds of great movies. But it's not a Hollywood story. It's the Bible story. It's God's story. It's the story this season forces us to recall and remember and to tell and to live in, right? Yes. Start with remembrance of your place low. End with gratitude. What is the Seder? What is a Seder without recalling this hope? Hope has a sweet taste, much sweeter than matzah. But you got to eat the matzah. We need that hope in our tables and in our hearts, especially, kids over the last couple of years. My goodness sakes. We have utterly destroyed a generation. Well, no, we haven't. God forbid. I'll never say that again. The world has attempted to destroy a generation. They need hope. They need stories of hope. And this is the ultimate one. I want to read you 2 things. We got to remember to teach our children that just because it looks bad, it feels bad, it seems bad, God is not absent. Passover tells that story, so does the cross. This is what Jonathan Sacks said. Jews are not blind to the existence of evil. We feel it, taste it each year afresh in the bread of oppression and the bitter herbs of slavery. But we refuse with every fiber of our being to be resigned to it. To understand the Jewish people, one must listen to the way it tells its story. A people whose narrative begins with shame and ends with praise is one that, knowing in its bones the reality of evil, did not cease wrestling with the angel of death until it discovered the path from suffering to hope. How did they find the path? God showed up. Last quote, Viktor Frankl. You know Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Auschwitz concentration camp victim. Victor. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. And to choose your way sometimes is nothing more than never relinquishing the hope that you have in God. So, nothing has changed. We still need God to move. We're still in exile. The world is a mess. It's okay. We do what we can do to better that. We don't complain about it. We do what we can do with humility and with gratitude. Israel was supposed to move from Egypt to the promised land. That didn't really materialize, sort of, but not really. And look at us. The kingdom is not realized. We're all struggling. It's just part of it. But don't lose hope. We meditate on that phrase. Start with shame. End with praise. I know it doesn't sound very good. But over the last 30 minutes, I hope I've made it sound better than what it actually sounds like. Because that's what it's communicating to you. From disgrace to glory. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. At your Seder, you can see the matzah. You can see the maror. You can see the wine. You can see and you can read the Haggadah, but it doesn't tell the whole story. The hope is harder to see, but it is so important. It's there. Bring it out, my friends. And then put it back, right in here. Right in here, to walk through the difficult times. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's for Friday night. Chag Pesach Sameach. Shabbat Shalom. Let's stand together, friends. Wherever you are in the world, we're saying this prayer together. It is a prayer of hope. That's exactly what it says in English. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula le'otzer bereshit, shelo asanu ki goyeh haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu ki chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malhei hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yosei Haaretz, U'moshav Yikaro b'Shamayim mimal, U'shchinatu zo b'govhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, Emed Malkeinu efes ulato, Kakatuv b'Torato, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחתנו אין עוד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad. On that day, the Lord will be one, and his name will be one. I did a podcast interview this week with a lady named Heidi Barr, a Jewish lady who died when she was 16. Horse fell on top of her, crushed her pelvis, her entire rib cage. She had a near-death experience, which it's nearly beyond argument that these things happen. We don't have to get all weird and mystical about it, but the story that she told of being over her body, and you can listen to this podcast when it comes out. It's the Messiah podcast from First Fruits of Zion. It's not out yet, but a girl whose father told her, "You are no more significant than the smallest speck of dust in the universe. Jesus Christ is the biggest hoax ever perpetrated on mankind. There is no God." The moment she died, Jewish, Yeshua showed up and escorted her into the eternal divine light of God's love. It's really unbelievably fascinating. But it's so hard to deny that something so incredible is waiting for us on the other side of this. And if nothing else, there is great hope that one day we will all be forever in the eternal loving light of our Father in heaven. Listen to it. The other thing I want to tell you is I was at the Huckies for Shabbat dinner last night. Darren has 3 volumes of this that he's written called 5-Minute Torah. The Talmud tells us that a meal without a discussion of Torah is an abomination. But especially on Shabbat, it's part of the Shabbat celebration is to cover the Torah portion for that week and tell the story, share it with your kids, with your guests. And Aaron has done such a great job of condensing 5 minutes of Torah wisdom that everyone can have a Torah talk at their Shabbat table. So when I was there last night, I really realized that I want to make another plug for any of the 3 volumes of 5-Minute Torah and make it a part of your Shabbat dinner and just share. Maybe your kids will ask some questions. Maybe your guests will ask questions. Maybe you will ask some questions. We're blessed to have a wealth of good teachers in this congregation, Darren being one of them, and an author. So that's a resource that you can take advantage of for your tables. All right? May the Lord bless you. May he fill you with hope in this season. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. B'Shem Yeshua. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yo'er Adonai ponav elecha v'yihuneka. Yisa Adonai ponav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Enjoy.